Welcome back, Headbangers. Today, I'm spinning the wax with Zachary Ezrin and Steve Blanco of Imperial Triumphant, and we are listening to Wake Up the Wicked by German power metal band Powerwolf. Don't go anywhere, it all starts right now. Hello, my friends, and welcome back, or welcome to Spinning the Wax, where we listen to your favorite artists' favorite records. I'm John Garcia, aka Stay Puffed, the Metal Marshmallow, and your friendly neighborhood headbanger. Today, I have 2 out of the 3 members, that is a devilish 66.6%, of New York's cacophonous, extreme metal triumvirate Imperial Triumphant. Vocalist and guitarist Zachary Ezrin, as well as bassist Steve Blanco, come on the show to listen to the 2024 album Wake Up the Wicked by Powerwolf. If that seems like a weird and wild out of nowhere pick, well, congratulations. That's because it's supposed to. That's by design. Zachary wanted Steve to come into the episode completely blind of what they were going to listen to, and in doing so, picked an album that he himself had actually not heard either. In their first exploration of the German band's Romanian werewolf motif, the 2 musicians are in awe at the consistency of the record, the band's ability to shovel out catchy, melodious choruses, as well as the variety amongst the 11 songs within a tight 37-minute time frame. We're hoping that this is the first step in some sort of Imperial Triumphant Powerwolf collaboration in the not-so-distant future. What that would look like, I have no fucking idea, but I want it so bad, I'm telling you. While we're serenaded by Attila Dorn and company, Steve, Zachary, and I discuss how melody is the most important tool in a musician's arsenal, why Imperial Triumphant wanted to present a more focused and streamlined approach in their new album Gold Star, and how their relentless touring over the last few years directly led to Gold Star's creation. We also get into the crazy amount of merch that Powerwolf produces, of which Zachary is a huge fan, their stage names, their live act, and how the perfect length for an album is 45 minutes. Finally, at the very end of the episode, I read them a scathing but hilarious review of Alphaville that fits right into the theme of their new album. If you've ever wanted to watch 2 extreme/jazz musicians lose their mind to a cheesy and pristinely produced power metal record, you've come to the right place. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel if this triggered the dopamine and serotonin receptors in your brain, and consider becoming a Patreon member as well, where you can get early access to these episodes, new music updates weekly, as well as uncut versions of this series where you can listen along to the album with us in real time. Check it out at patreon.com/spinningthewax. All right, no more pitches or plugs from me. Let's get into this episode. I hope that if you're an Imperial Triumphant fan that has never heard Powerwolf before, or a Powerwolf fan that has never heard Imperial Triumphant before, that this will inspire you to go and check out the other. There is room for all of us here, my friends. So, hey, without further ado, this is episode 15 of Spinning the Wax, where Imperial Triumphant listens to Wake Up the Wicked by Powerwolf. Please welcome Steve Blanco and Zachary Ezrin to the show. Gentlemen, welcome to Spinning the Wax. It's so good to have you. Steve, like I said, it's great to meet you for the first time. And Zach, it's good to talk to you again, my friend.
Great to be here, John. Thank you so much.
Zach, we'd start with you. How you doing, man? You just said that you guys just launched Pleasure Dome right now. Hell of a track. And you're just like, I can see you like typing furiously away and going like crazy.
Posting and texting. Yeah, I'm dying for the day we can get a social media manager to just do all that stuff for us. And it's probably worth we're investing in, because they'll probably do a better job than me anyway.
You need to save the money for those 24-karat gold strings, man. So don't worry about the social media.
I stopped with those.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, dude. They kept breaking.
Okay.
And then we knew it was a problem when Steve was also using them, and he was breaking strings.
Yeah, when the bass strings are breaking, then you got a serious problem.
But now I'm with Diodario, and Steve's with DR.
Okay.
And I'd say we're pretty happy.
I actually broke quite a few at one point. Like, there was this weird era of our live touring where I kept breaking bass strings. It started, I feel like, in Atlanta at that weird show with Deicide.
Yeah, dude. That was crazy. 5 seconds before we play, you broke a string.
Yeah, it was like like 10 seconds of the first song, and no high G string, so, whatever.
Yeah.
Space, transpose.
The life
Crazy.
of a live musician. I play on some of the guitars I have. I play both DR and Diodario. So hell yeah, look at this. Look at us going all
They're
the
good.
way.
They're good.
DRs, those are my strings of choice. I also love the people at DR. Shout out to everybody at DR. They're so nice to me. So it's very cool.
Yeah, when I was growing, I'm just a hobbyist, so I can, basically can only play Maiden and Metallica songs. That's about it. But the Dimebag DRs, when I was like 16, 17, were just like, yeah, let's do those squeals. Let's get it. Let's do it.
Oh yeah, dude.
All right, since I know that we're relatively short on time, but we can do it, let's get into what we're going to be doing today. We'll speak about Gold Star and your shoot at the Chrysler Building and all of the cool stuff coming up for Imperial or Triumphant in a little bit. But the purpose of this show is to listen to music and discuss about life and everything like that on here. But Zach is putting a nice wrench in this show, which I think is actually for the best. And he is putting on, he has chosen an album, Steve, that you have not heard, that he has not heard. And I don't know if, Zach, if you want to, I don't want to ruin this for you. So if you want to go ahead and.
Oh no,
why
no,
pick-
please ruin it for me.
Ruin this one? All right. So, Steve, we are going to be listening to a monumental opus that was put out in 2024 by German power metal fiends Powerwolf. We're going to be
Oh
listening to
my
Wake Up the
God.
Wicked.
I gotta say, I'm kind of psyched.
Hell yeah. Thoughts on this, and then Zach, I'm going to ask you why you picked this record. So, Steve, hearing that we're going to be listening to Powerwolf, what are your immediate thoughts?
Well, believe it or not, I don't know a lot of their music.
I'm shocked, I say.
but on the road we have often sort of like been following them around Europe at times,
Okay.
and just Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of admiring their insane touring schedule and like just the work they're doing.
Huge fan of. I don't really know their music, but I'm a huge fan of everything else.
Yeah.
Like I love their. I've seen like photos of their guitars and their live show. It looks insane production. I love that their merch. They shred merch.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I'm a big fan of merch shredders.
Yes.
And I just love that, like, power metal bands now, they have to have a theme. There has to be some sort of
Dragons.
yeah, like we're the dragon band, or we're like we're the space band, or we're the pirate band. And then they're like, we're the wolf Christianity band.
we're
Dude,
the Romanian werewolves. Let's go.
A wolf Christianity band. Like
All of our songs are about sexy nuns and exorcisms and werewolves. Let's do it.
Dude, it's it's pretty badass on on every other way, And one other thing that, of course, is connected for me is like it kind of all goes back to like Richie Blackmore and Yngwie, I feel like, in a way, So like there is a connection to this amazing music from once was.
Yeah, dude. I was lucky enough. I have seen this band live. I went to Download 2022, and they were like the second band on the main stage on like Sunday afternoon. It was like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Everybody's all hungover because I think Maiden played the night before, and but they put on. It was 1 o'clock in fucking Donington, right? So just sky, it's bright, but they put on a hell of a show. Everybody who was there was like dancing and involved, even people that didn't know the music. And I think that's what I'm also like. I know the singles for this band. I couldn't say like, oh, I've listened to every album in their discography or something like that, but my favorite band of all time is Maiden, right? After that, it was like Iced Earth and Blind Guardian and Sonata Arctica and like all that power metal band. I love just that cheesy, when power metal is done right, it's just so fucking good. And I know, just like with any other, just like there's like 1,000 shitty death metal bands and 1,000 shitty thrash metal bands, there's gonna be 1,000 shitty power metal bands, but when they do it right, it's so fucking good. And I think that this band does it right.
I feel like at some point, if we cross paths with them, I'm sure I can't speak for Kenny, but I'm sure Zach and I would go to a Powerwolf show.
Yeah. Well, dude, Steve, you remember we went to that other power metal show?
Oh, the Finnish band.
Yeah. What were they called?
Dude, that was nuts.
That was the weirdest show we've ever seen.
Yeah, what's the name of that band? With the girl, that crazy girl singer? John, do you know what Finnish power metal band?
Elvati?
No, nope, nope.
Not Nightwish.
Battle Beast.
Battle
Battle
Beast.
Beast.
Battle
Battle Beast
Beast.
is fucking insane. Yeah, Nora, I think is her name.
Oh,
She is
weird.
insane, dude. Like an actual Valkyrie.
Yes.
Bro, they
Yes.
were so goddamn. It was insane.
I mean, the thing about their show, real quick before we get started, was like
Yeah.
how it devolved. They
Yeah.
went
What do you-
from-
what do you
they
mean?
started out like, kicking ass doing the show, and then they just turned into this weird Finnish like dance part. I don't know what you call it, man. It
Yeah.
was like a Finnish hippie weird thing.
It's the best way to describe it. It got so weird, and we were looking at each other like, and people think we're weird. Like,
Yeah.
Well, what I will say before we get into this in the next like 5 seconds or whatever is Powerwolf does also love to do a lot of collaborations with other musicians where they will bring them in for for re-recording songs or doing like different versions of them. So I don't know, Powerwolf,
You about to get
Imperial
on a
Triumphant
Powerwolf track?
collaboration one way or the other. I don't know. Maybe it's coming.
Twist my arm.
let's do it, dude.
I'm sorry. What's the name of the album?
It's called Wake Up the Wicked by Powerwolf.
The Wicked full
Sick.
album.
Wake Up the Wicked. I love it. I love this shit, John.
Dude, I mean, the first song is called Bless 'Em with the
So
Blade.
nuts.
Like, how metal is that?
Yeah. I'm ready to go, John, whenever you guys are.
I'm ready to go.
All right, so let's do this. This is Wake Up the Wicked 2024 album by Powerwolf. Let's go in 3, 2, 1, play. Honestly, this song is a banger.
Dude, this is insane. It's a killer hook.
It is a good hook.
Breakdown.
Yeah, baby.
They got all the Yngwie ahs in the keyboards, man.
Yeah. It's like they had yens on keyboards.
Yeah.
Over the past couple of albums, they have really upped their like orchestrations and their keyboards and the bombasticity. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm going to use it of this record or of this band. And I don't know, man. It's a lot of fun. I know that some people tip their nose up at music like this, but I think it's fucking great just to like get out and like have a good time with it, you know?
I love that vocal hook where the other guys are like, with the blade. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Also, that whole Halloween / Yngwie interlude was pretty sick.
It's very great call. Very Halloween kind of style.
I love some Halloween. And then 2 minutes and 47 seconds done. Like, you guys can learn a thing or two about streamlining songs under 3 minutes.
That's
I
a
mean,
ripper.
Yeah, John, we thought we were getting good at it, but dude, 247.
Sinners of the Seven Seas.
This song is also, I think this is one of the singles from this record, and it is incredible. Like, da 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 da.
So medieval.
It's so medieval, dog.
It's the German forest.
Yeah. This is like music for like when you're rowing the boat, you know? It's like, jeez.
Ooh, that's my favorite right there. Ooh. See, like Steve, you're just like bopping around to it, like you're doing exactly what they want you to do with this one.
Dude, this is like the Bavarian triumphant.
Yeah. Speaking of streamlining, I wanted to ask. So obviously, that's kind of the story with Gold Star, trying to bring a little bit more focus, for lack of a better word, I think, to the songs and to the band. Did you guys find that harder or easier trying to fit within those constraints? Because I know that the band obviously sometimes puts constraints on themselves, sometimes it's wide open, but trying to focus that songwriting, how did you find that as far as like difficulty or writing?
I don't know. It seems like a great way to challenge yourself creatively. And when you can't put everything that you want into a song, then you have to cut the fat and only the best parts stay. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually like the challenge of, having weird restrictions like that, you know? Mm-hmm. Because then you got to problem solve creatively. How do you keep your artistic integrity and roots inside of a framework like that? I enjoy trying to figure that out.
Steve, it's crazy how this album sounds exactly like Gold Star. Like, what are the odds?
Dude, yeah, I mean, that breakdown, the 4 on the floor breakdown, shout out to whatever drummer or whatever back in history figured out, I'm going to just do 4 on the floor and make everybody go fucking nuts in the room. That man's a genius, whoever that was.
Give him a raise.
Yeah.
This song gets into their sexy nuns vibe on this one.
Sexy nuns.
Yeah,
I gotta say the production is it's pretty like it's pretty much pristine.
Well, they're German.
Right.
Yeah, John, I don't know if you know this, but every show they play, they have merch for that specific show.
Oh yeah.
It's insane.
Okay, yeah. So that's like kind of like what like. I know a lot of bigger, but like Maiden does that obviously with like
That's
the
a
countries that they
big
go
investment,
through.
dude.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like I know that Powerwolf is kind of in the upper echelon of power metal right now. Like you've got your Sabaton, you've got your Powerwolf, and
They're huge. I just follow them for the merch.
oh yeah,
I mean, merch like per show merch. That's
It's
bold.
insane.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
bold.
You gotta shred it or you're fucked.
well, and you
Yeah.
also have to have a lot of faith in your fan base too to know that they're gonna like pick that shit up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like their fans though
Yeah.
pretty diehard.
Have you found that you guys have your legions of just like people that will like buy your shit and do stuff for you like no matter what?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We have very smart and very loyal fans, I'd say,
Yeah.
because they want to be in the world that we've built.
And I feel like with a band like y'all, you know that that's kind of going to be the thing, right? You're not making music for everybody, right? I mean, like, listen to the stuff that you're doing. So I feel like even just someone enjoying the band is already like past a barrier of entry.
Yeah, John, I don't know what you mean about us not making music for everybody. I remember a couple tours ago, we were doing the entire Spirit of Ecstasy album, and like 8 minutes into Tower of Glory, City of Shame,
Dude.
when I didn't even know what the fuck we were doing anymore at one point, I was just looking out there and going like, dude, is anybody, like, what does this sound like to people? You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty wild.
Oh, we got
I
a little
got-
swing.
Oh, a little, no, it's almost like they're going like Druid.
Yeah, this is like folky.
Yeah,
right
full
here. This-
druid.
Yeah.
It's just the same
City of
same
Atlantis.
key, but I'll take it. Hasn't failed them yet.
No, I've
Yeah, I was
noticed
gonna
it's been the same key.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure all of these songs are going to be in what? Probably C or E, I'd imagine.
Maybe it's like because he's a singer, he's got to be in that vocal range.
Probably.
And he does have a lower voice than a lot of power metal singers as well, I've noticed.
That's true, actually, John. The vocal production's pretty crazy.
Yeah, guy's killing it.
He
And
sounds
the-
like this live
and the
too.
chorus sound, you know?
Yeah. And there's like definitely each song has its own vibe, it's not like a blur of the same song.
All songs are, there's only one song over 4 minutes, 11 songs, and the album's over in like less than 40 minutes. It's just like bam, 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 bam. And the flow in this record just sounds so good. I don't remember when this came out. I know I listened to it because it was on my spreadsheet where I keep track of the hundreds of records I listen to every year. But their album before this was fucking incredible. And I think from that one, I listened to that and was like, like that one was better. This one fine, like whatever. But after some time and going back to this, Zach, this record kicks ass. I'm sorry, it's fucking good. man.
Breakdown is sick.
Ooh, a little stereo swap.
Yeah, that's sick.
I gotta say one thing about the power metal thing, like, in music, the most powerful device is melody. And so, like, that probably has a lot to do with these hordes of people that are drawn to this, like in
Yeah.
the live experience, right?
Yeah.
Anything you can sing along to as well.
Yeah, man. Melody is a very fucking powerful device.
Which it was funny because, dudes, for the last like 3 weeks or however long I've had the album, I've just been wandering around my house going, I'm a gold star, die for
Oh yeah, dude.
gold star. So like, I know one of the things that I read in that album is saying, quote, you guys are giving a lot more forgiveness to the listener this time around, which I thought was just like a perfect summation, a perfect quote of that. I guess, can you kind of like talk about you mentioned about the streamlining and stuff like that, but I mean, there definitely is more melody. It's not like overwhelming or anything, like it's still hidden and stuff like that, but there's definitely is more melody in Gold Star. I guess, can you just kind of say what was on your mind when you're thinking about giving the listener more forgiveness? And Zach, I don't know if you want to start with that one or not.
Sure.
Sick opening to the song, real quick. Just a note.
Yeah.
This is another one of the
1589,
singles, by the
loving
way.
this.
This is like medieval theater,
So medieval. This is some
Yeah.
shit you'd listen to like in a tavern with like
with a
beer
big
on
ale.
like your ale, but it's
Big
on
ale.
a big barrel.
Yeah, dude. An axe on the wall.
Yeah. Candles and shit.
This guy apparently that they're singing about was known as the Werewolf of Germany. This is according to Genius, who stood trial on the 28th of October, 1589, who was accused of all sorts of things like eating people, serial killing, zealotry, killing 14 children, all of this other stuff. But apparently, none of it was true. He was just mentally disabled, and the church burned him at the stake.
That's fucked up.
Crazy story.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we were just trying to think about like making a record that's maybe more rock formatted
Yeah.
and just challenging ourselves to like, can we do that? Can we still be our Imperial Triumphant, but like make something that is just rippers?
Yeah. It's interesting because when I play new music on my Twitch stream every week. And when I played Hotel Sphinx, there were people that I've heard from in the past despise Imperial Triumphant, but they were listening to this and were like, okay, wait, this is actually kind of cool. And like,
That's what
that,
Steve's
I think-
talking about, dude.
Yes.
The power of melody.
That's what I'm saying is like that. When I saw that, I was like, wow, these are for years. Like, it didn't matter which album came out. We're just like, not my thing, not my thing, not my thing. But then a song comes out and they're like, oh, wait a second, I could actually vibe to this one. And I thought that right there was like the biggest, like, hell yeah, from as like an Imperial Triumphant fan and just talking with you guys. And I hope that that's going to be something that repeats itself ad nauseum over the next like year or so as this album gets out.
Time will tell.
Yeah, and another thing about, I feel like all bands have to evolve,
course.
right? I mean, that's, part of the process. And you also, as a band, don't really want to repeat, like what you did already,
Right.
because, that it's all part of the journey. So you explore ideas and, you create stuff, and you don't even know what an album is going to be until it's done, really, technically, even when you are making the album,
Right.
right? It's not quite like making a feature film where you really have no fucking idea until it's put together, right? But
Yeah.
it's kind of like that, right? And I think what was important to us is, hanging on to our progressive roots, even in a small, shorter song format,
Yeah.
So that was, I feel like, kind of fun to actually pull off, because we were really happy with the way the songs turned out,
Yeah, definitely. I wrote down in my notes about how, Gold Star may be the most quote unquote accessible album, but if you just showed this to someone off the street who had no idea about it, they'd still be like, what the fuck is this that I'm listening to? And I think that balancing that is challenging, like you said, but also just like really, really hard and really cool.
Yeah. There's definitely people who will still listen to it and go, noise, garbage.
Garbage.
Yeah.
But then again, what would they think if they heard Portal?
Yeah.
Right.
Who just announced a tour?
A show.
No, it's a tour now.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
But it's like they're touring with the other band that half the band is in. The other, what's it called? I can't
They're
remember.
doubling up. They're doubling up.
Yeah, I wanted to be on that tour more than anything in the world, but
Dude, I was
doubt
gonna text you guys and be like, "Yo, should we just meet in Copenhagen just to go to the fucking Portal show?" You know,
I might go. I might go. Honestly,
I'm down, bro. I'm down. You know,
Impetuous Ritual, because I know they have shared members, so it's like
Right.
that's an easy run.
right?
Yeah, touring's so expensive now. You want to make sure you're doing it. If both of the bands have the same members, then it cuts down on all of the costs.
It really.
But I'll
does.
say this, knowing that they're back on the road, anything's possible.
And,
New
yo,
album?
yeah.
New
I mean,
album,
to me, that's like a match made in heaven. Imperial opening for Portal.
I know many, 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 many people that would shit their pants immediately if that were announced.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
Dude, the dream.
Yeah.
This one too, just like how they could just shit out massive choruses like this on every fucking song.
They just,
I don't know.
they crank this shit out too. How many albums, John? How many albums do they have total?
I think 11. Let me 1, 2, 3, 4,
Wow.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This would be their 10th
10?
record. Yeah.
10 albums. Damn, we got a little work to do.
Dude, and they're cranking
Yeah.
them it literally like every 2 years. 2005, 2007, 2009, 2011, 2013, 2015, 2018, 21, 23, 24.
That's insane.
Like, how
Impressive.
the fuck do you do that? While we're talking about Gold Star, the cigarette theme, because I have something to share with you at the very end of this theme, but I'm curious as far as what the thought process was behind kind of that gloss over the album.
Yeah, I was thinking like, particularly like cigarette advertisement, I think is really dark and compelling and very within the Imperial like minutia. I don't know if that's the right word.
Probably not the right word.
Probably not the right word. Something like that.
Maybe ethos is the word you're looking for.
Ethos, sure, not minutia, but I like that word minutia. Anyway,
It's a good word.
A great word.
great word. I think that there's something cool, like dark and compelling about like these sexy 50s and 60s advertisements that are promoting like a product that just will kill you.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a good allegory for New York City and a great allegory for Gold Star, because we have these gold sexy masks and this beautiful album cover, and then it's death metal that will kill you.
Yeah. Working within the bounds of New York, I always feel like as a listener, woven through Imperial Triumphant, there's this story of like, the elites hanging over everybody who are better than you and trudging down all the people that are under them and everything like that. And I think that there's a lot of that through this record as well, especially given the times that we're in. Zach, I don't know if that was intentional or anything like that, but all the feeling of the people in their ivory towers looking down at everybody, which has been part of Imperial Triumph, and I feel like is really prominent on this record as well. Maybe that's just me as a listener, but yeah.
I encourage people to share their like opinions and thoughts about what this music means to them, because
Yeah.
that's what I always want,
Sure.
is for people to bring their curiosity to the music and explore and be compelled by the darkness in whatever they think. By the way, side note, I think this is my favorite song on the album so far.
Is this the title track? We're in the title track,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
It's got a good swing.
I like the next two songs also. No, that's great to hear, just because, I don't know, it's that ethos that you were talking about, that minutia that you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, John, it's nothing new. It's thousands and
course.
thousands of years of that shit, really, and like especially during the global shutdown, that's when it was at its absolute apex. I would say right now, currently, it's almost like a little bit of a breath for everybody at this point, compared to what that was, as far as the top of the pyramid control, So we'll see where things are going to continue, but
they're not looking good. We're not going to get into politics on this show or anything like that, but I think that's kind of what I was saying, is that, through Alphaville, I mean, that was a huge record for me when it came out. I think because, like you were saying, I was working in news. I was all the way, I was in knowing everything that was going on through 2020 on like an up to the minute basis, which was fucking horrible for my mental health, right? And having a record like Alphaville that was kind of cacophonous and would take up all of the thoughts in my brain for 40 minutes or whatever was really great. I always tell people that I would go to sleep at night listening to that album for a little while, and
That's insane.
right, that's what I'm
like
saying.
that. I like that.
Because where I was at in my mental health, I just needed loud noise to shut up everything else that was like
Dude.
around in. So there were a couple of times where I would like kind of doze and wake up at the end of the album, be like,
You
where
ever
am I?
listen
What's going
to
on?
Monoliths and Dimensions by
Great
Sun?
record. Great album.
Whenever I fly, I put that on. Something
Mm-hmm.
about that record, it's not boring, but it's just like these such low notes. I just get like lulled to sleep.
Yeah.
And I put it on repeat, and then I'll just sleep, and then I'll wake up somewhere else in the album, and then go back to sleep, and then just like do that for 7 hours.
I might try that. I'm going to be on a cross pond flight next week, so I might try that. I know a little bit of
great.
Sun. I'm not like crazy familiar with discography, but I've dabbled a little bit.
It's
That
pretty,
record
it's
is
pretty
awesome.
great, John.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
hear.
production, chord choices, vocals, everything's unbelievable.
A little history
We're in a
lesson
different
here.
key. We're in a different key.
Only took 8 songs. 8.
I'll
This is
take
8.
it.
Oh, 8, John,
Yeah, it's
8.
inflation, right? It's inflation, so this is 8.
Oh yeah, fiat standard. The length of this album, to me, is good.
Yeah.
Like I don't think album, that I don't know when that happened. Somewhere in like the late 1990s or something, when all of a sudden albums had to be like 90 minutes long.
Yeah.
That never made any sense to me, really.
45 is like the sweet spot for me.
That's it. That's it, man.
I'll take
I agree.
35, honestly. Like, not to say that I don't like long albums if the
Of
music
course.
calls for it, right? Obviously, going back to the state of power metal, I guess that is, I think, my gripe with a majority of power metal bands where they have these songs for fucking 55 minutes, where it's like, man, if you cut like 3 or 4 of those songs, you would have a fucking like top 10 album of the year because all of the filler is gone. But I think like self-editing for anybody, whether you're a musician or albums or anything like that, is really, really hard.
It is, but it's also an important part of the creative process. You got to like not be married to shit and learn how to like zoom out.
Yeah.
How long is Power Slave?
I think it's like 45 minutes.
It's
we're-
it's a pretty
we're
good
looking this
album,
up.
John. Right?
Yeah, it's my
Oh, it's
favorite. Iron Man.
51, dude.
51.
51 minutes.
No, but it has like here's the catch. It's got Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner on
I know
it.
that's like 8 minutes or 9 minutes.
Oh, no.
That's 13 minutes, my
13.
friend.
Oh, it's 13. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what really got them in the end. Because, like,
Yeah.
Flash of the Blade, Ripper, Power Slave, Ripper, Aces High.
But still,
minutes
I
to
mean,
midnight.
even 51, like, that's long enough. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah. All right, here's the Priest song, ironically called Thunder Priest.
Cool name.
But this, to me, is just like a straight up Judas Priest song. I've caught you guys a couple of times on the last tours that you've been out. I saw y'all play at the End in Nashville, which is great, like small little tiny venue with the Callous Dow Boys. And then I was in Denver when you were on the Zealand Ardor Sylvain tour.
Do you remember that, Steve? We showed up late to that one as well.
Hell yeah.
Was that
Loaded
the,
right onto stage.
that was the craziest thing, John, because previous year we had done the same drive across the Rocky Mountains, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except we did it in the dead of winter, and there was a fucking blizzard, and it was the
So
worst
sketch.
worst 15 hours of my life.
Yeah, I could believe
So
it.
horrible.
I took a piss at 12,000 feet at Loveland Pass, the highest fucking pass in the interstate system. There we are, and then we do it again, except it's the summer. We're like, oh, it's gonna be fucking great, man. It's the summer. Nope. I-70, huge, some kind of crazy accident. Took us the same amount of time to get across the fucking Rocky Mountains.
So you're going to go the
nuts.
opposite way next time.
Yeah.
So how did you find that massive influx of touring after being home for so long?
Dude, we went right out. We went right out like October 21.
Yeah.
We did it. We set up our own tour because like nobody was setting up tours at the time. People were still like afraid to go out.
Yeah.
And we were like, dude, we're going out. We took Piron with us, right?
Awesome
Oh, yeah.
tour.
Great band.
And the
Great
tour
band.
was fucking amazing, man.
Yeah,
we did like the eastern seaboard basically.
Mm-hmm.
It was fucking fabulous. And then yeah, we just kept going from that point on until we had like 1 year. Was it 22 or 20? What was the year where we went to Europe like 4 times.
That was 22.
Dude, 22 was just like
22 was
thousands
insane.
and thousands of miles, John.
We
Yeah,
went to
it's-
Europe so much.
But yeah, no, I mean, just to get to your question, to your point, rather, I mean, it was great. You know, it was important to do that. It was important to just go back and, you know, fucking maintain the normalization that that we have inside of us. You know.
And I don't think you would get Gold Star if we weren't doing all that touring.
The idea of not having time to play more songs because they were so long really contributed to the streamlining process of the album. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you have a 30-minute set, you don't want to have to just choose between 2 songs to play.
Yeah.
So we were like, you know, shorter songs, more songs.
Mm-hmm.
Also, John, we record the core of the music live because we need to interact with each other. That's the way that's our style, right?
Yeah.
You know? And so the work is actually done leading up to the recording through rehearsing over a long period of time, you know? So when we go into the studio, we're ready for Colin to hit record and just do it, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I imagine I was talking to someone else on the show who was talking about like the kind of language that he and his bandmates speak.
Yeah, it is communicating when you play together.
Yeah.
You know, when you play your instrument, it's like communication.
We've played a lot of notes together.
I guess I don't, since I've only been following the band for like 4 or 5 years at this point. Have you permanently changed ways that you've played your songs just because of how you've played them live over the years?
They change over time, just like organically.
They evolve as we tour, definitely. You know, I think Chernobyl Blues, I consider that a live song
Yeah.
because
I
it's
love that song.
become like its own beast.
Yeah.
But also playing together for so long, you know, has enabled us to be real comfortable and trust each other, you know?
Sure.
Yo, was that, by the way, real quick, was that like a little kid's chorus I heard in there?
Yeah, dude.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but they popped
Little
it on for
Hotel
just a
Sphinx
second.
vibe.
Look, this is the closer, huh?
This is Vargamore.
Sort of like a ballad.
I have a question. I have a Powerwolf question. Are they all the original members still?
I don't think so.
No.
Let me. I've got my cheat sheets and my Wikipedia's up and everything like
Follow-up
that.
question: do they have like stage names, or they go by their birth names?
They have stage names, my friend.
Cool move.
Yeah.
Yep.
The singer, I've got it right here. The singer is Attila Dorn. On lead guitar, you've got Matthew Greywolf. On bass and rhythm guitar, you've got Charles Greywolf. So I guess that they're brothers.
They're brothers.
Brothers.
The Grey Wolf brothers.
Yeah.
Although the drummer just goes by Roel van Helden. So this is why. So actually, to answer your question, Steve, this is what Wikipedia says. 4 of those members, of the 5 members, have been in the band since 2003. So that's a long time for most of that band.
That's cool. That's cool.
So that would explain why they're so good at like finding their melodies and stuff like that. Because like you said, they've been playing together for so long. The newest member came in 2011. He's the drummer. And he does not have a stage name because I guess he wasn't, there at the inception of Powerwolf, so did not earn a stage name.
Did you say Van Gelden was one of the names?
Van Helden, Roel Van Helden.
Van Helden.
Is it
He's Dutch.
V-A-N? Is it V-A-N?
It is VAN.
That's the Dutch name.
It is.
Interesting.
He is Dutch, yeah.
Oh, he's Dutch.
He
Wow.
is.
There you go.
There you go. I mean, I gotta hand it to them for like consistency.
Their albums are very consistent, but if you take all of the best songs throughout their discography and, put them in a live set or like a, 45-minute playlist or something like that, my friend, you are having the best time that you have ever had, whether you're listening to, Undress to Confess or Demons Are a Girl's Best Friend or Sanctified by Dynamite or, Resurrection by Erection is one of my favorite songs from them. Incredible.
Dude, Demons Are a Girl's Best Friend, man.
That's the funniest shit I've ever heard.
It's a fucking bop, Steve. You'll have to like learn how to play that on like lounge piano or something like that because it's fucking
should.
great. All right, 30 seconds left. So yeah, Steve, Thoughts on this album, my friend, as it fades out?
Let's see how it actually ends. Is this the actual ending?
So medieval.
Whoa, they actually just go out on like a minstrel number.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking medieval, dude.
That's
Yeah.
the end of the record.
My initial thoughts are the consistency factors is pretty impressive, I have to say. Like the album has a vibe, you know, from start to end where you put it on and it's a sound, you know? You know, like not going through every song where all of a sudden you have like a surprise in a total like a different genre almost, you know,
Yeah.
like some bands can do. Sometimes weak might sound like. But yeah, and the production pretty much perfect, right?
Very
If I'm
clean.
going to be totally honest about this kind of stuff, you know, I will say one thing that maybe is a little bit less appealing to me is the bass parts. They're kind of just doubling the guitar an octave lower kind of vibe, right? You know, so that doesn't always appeal to me. It works in there. I mean, that's the sound. So I mean, it makes sense for what they're doing. But you know, I tend to get into wanting to hear instruments sort of play against each other a little bit
Definitely.
more, or you know, support each other, or you know, take different roles and things like that. You know, that would be my musical nerd critique.
Yeah, of course. And I think it's fair. I'm sure if you were to, or the listener were to go back, they might find the little Harris influenced bass flares or something like that. But generally, yeah, in this record, I don't even know if I noticed the bass at all during, this specific listen.
Exactly. And I'm not even just saying that because I'm a bass player. Like I've
Yeah.
always been, even before I was a bass player, I've always been attracted to interesting bass. Counterpoint, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just go to your favorite band, John. I mean, just look at Steve Harris. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, Homeboy's bass lines are cool as fuck. You know what I
Dude,
mean?
to bring it back again, the bass melody harmony in between the solos and Power Slave is
Oh.
like one of my favorite musical parts in the fucking world. It's just because it's like, the guitars are playing their own melody, but then, the bass is doing this like chugging kind of do like something completely different where it almost sounds discordant at first, but then it like settles in. It's like, holy shit, they're doing completely different things, but yet it sounds amazing.
Oh yeah, and just quick props to Iron Maiden for always making sure the bass is mixed nice and up front with the guitar, so you actually hear what he's playing.
Yeah, sometimes a little bit too much in their later records nowadays.
Yeah.
But I won't. You won't hear that from me. Zach, what did you think about this record? Listening to it for the first time.
Well, it's my first Powerwolf record, so I have no real comparison to other works of theirs. However, I will say, enjoyed it. It's I like they mix things up. Some parts are really fast, some parts have like a bit of a swing, some parts are more of like a ballad. And I mean, it's definitely what I expected them to sound like.
I don't think that they would be mad at you at all for saying that.
Dude, I would love to meet these guys one day, and maybe one day we lay down some tunes on there.
I would imagine the like musical crossover that y'all have away from metal and everything like that would probably just like, I'm sure that y'all could talk about just all sorts of different music and all sorts of different genres for fucking hours, knowing the kind of stuff that these guys weave into their music.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we could talk about like some old records with them.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they were into Richie Blackmore at some point.
Maybe a little. I don't know what gives that away, but maybe you might be right, Steve. You might be right.
I mean, I saw an interview with him a couple years ago. Like he lives in Long Island, in New York, right? And his house looks like a fucking medieval castle. You know what I mean? Like the dude is just like living it still. You know what I mean? Right?
I wouldn't expect anything less. For Imperial Triumphant fans that power metal, power wolf, whatever. This isn't your Twin Peaks, right? This isn't your Sopranos. This is you're going to watch some Parks and Recreation. You're going to sit down and enjoy something for 35 minutes and have a good time and maybe feel good and up the serotonin a little bit. So don't be ashamed and don't be afraid to check out fun, cheesy stuff like this. But the last thing I wanted to say before we leave, which is funny given the Gold Star theme, because Zach, why I asked you about like the cigarettes theme and stuff like that is because I was just like perusing and doing my research, and I found this review from Alphaville from a couple of years ago that rated the album a 0% on Metal Archives. And at the very end of the record, I'm not going to like read the whole thing because it's actually interesting. This person hated it, but actually like understood what you were trying to do. What the band was trying to do, and like there's this long review, like I get this, but I hate it, like whatever.
I don't like it.
Exactly. The last fucking quote of this, I have to read this to you guys. Alphaville is the high budget version of, quote, Terrible on Purpose, and I didn't enjoy one single second of this disaster. Maybe I'm just missing the point, or simply it isn't for me, but that doesn't prevent me from hearing a Discordant Hell song like Excelsior and considering picking up smoking again just so I can die slightly sooner.
Well,
yeah.
Hey, man. Solid negative. Solid
Dude,
negative.
If you're going to give a
Creative
0%,
negative
man, that's the way to do it.
review.
You know what? I mean, the way I look at it is like, if you get 0%, that's pretty extreme reaction. So I would say that's pretty cool.
You've created a new thought form, Zach and Steve.
Thank you for having us, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely. I'm so stoked for the record. I'm stoked to see you guys live whenever it comes out. Is there anything else that you want to say before you leave? Anything that you want people to know about the record, or anything that's coming up in 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, buy Gold Star, pre-order Gold Star, listen to Gold Star, and then come see. We'll hopefully playing wherever you're living, and come out to the show. It's going to be a whole new wild production.
Yeah,
Oh,
come
yeah.
see Gold Star.
And come
Die
see
for Gold Star.
Yeah.
Come see Gold Star.
Hey, John,
Yeah.
I just also want to thank you so much, man, for having us. It was a real pleasure meeting you and like, chatting, and maybe
Yeah.
I'll see you at a show here local, since
Absolutely, you
we're
probably will.
neighbors.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm out. Not all the time. I'm most of a homebody, but for the good shows, I get out of my cave and be social a little bit. So if I see you, I'll say hi. And
Yeah,
like,
or shoot me a message or whatever, and I'll find you at a venue or something.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, thank you guys both for sharing your time. I know you guys are
you.
super busy. And again, congrats on the record, and good luck going forward.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, brother.
Bavarian Triumphant. That was Zachary Ezrin and Steve Blanco listening, reacting, and enjoying Powerwolf. Massive thanks to both of them for coming on the show, for being good sports and mining their deep musical knowledge to discuss this absolutely ridiculous music. I really do hope that these two bands can get together and hammer out some sort of collaboration, whether it's an original song or some sort of demented cover of the other's work, especially after Imperial's little covers EP where they covered Rush and Radiohead and Metallica. I think they could absolutely do a fucked up in a good way cover of, say, Demons Are a Girl's Best Friend or Sanctified with Dynamite. Powers that be, whatever it is, please listen to us. Make it happen, if only for one track. So while you're at it, check out Imperial Triumphant's new record, Gold Star. It's available everywhere March 21st via Century Media Records, and the band hasn't lost any of its edge or brutality by focusing their song craft. In fact, I think Gold Star is likely to be one of the very best albums that you're likely to listen to this year of 2025. All right, that's all there is for this episode, my friends. Again, thank you so much for your support, for listening, for being an acolyte of heavy metal. Let me know what your thoughts are about Powerwolf, about Imperial Triumphant, about Goldstar, Richie Blackmore, by hitting me up in the comments below or by shooting me a line at spinningthewax@gmail.com. If you are one of those Imperial Triumphant fans that has now fallen in love with Powerwolf, I absolutely want to hear from you. And also in contrast to, your Powerwolf fans that are now finding Alphaville and Vile Luxury for the first time. How is it to your palate, my friends? Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Spinning the Wax and consider becoming a Patreon subscriber as well over at patreon.com/spinningthewax. So thanks again for your support, everybody. Next episode, we will have Catherine Shepard of Sylvain coming on to spin Depeche Mode's Violator, and it is an absolutely wonderful time. Catherine is a lovely human being, and she has so much insight and just stuff to say about her craft, about Depeche Mode, about music, and just life in general. So look forward to that on the horizon, my friends. And until then, stay safe, stay sane, stay heavy, stay puffed. See you on the other side, everybody.